สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. Today's recipe is called ไก่ใต้น้ำ Now ไก่ is chicken, ใต้ is under, and น้ำ is water. So it's literally underwater chicken, and you'll see why in a minute. Now when I discovered this dish, I was absolutely blown away by the brilliance of this technique. And what's even cooler is this is the epitome of rustic country cooking. I mean, this is not something you find in a Thai restaurant. This is something you find when you go to the countryside and somebody cooks for you in their home. Super cool. I'm so excited to be sharing it with you. So let's get started. The cool thing about country cooking is they tend to deal with the whole animal rather than, pre-butchered, pristine, boneless, skinless chicken breast. So traditionally, this recipe uses the whole chicken that they then cut up with bones and everything into chunks. So what I've got here is basically that, except it's a supermarket version of it. So if you go to an Asian grocery store, you a lot of times see this. And this is basically half a chicken. So if you can't find chicken that's cut up like this and bone in, what you can do is buy a whole chicken and see if a butcher will cut it for you. They often will. Or you can also use chicken wings, which has a lot of bones and they're in individual chunks already. So that's kind of a good cheat. All right, so what I'm gonna do is gonna put this in a bowl. Sometimes they give me the neck too. Love the neck meat. I don't know if they gave me neck here. Oh, there you go. Yay, neck. Very simple seasoning. Some soy sauce, also some fish sauce. And just to cut all that salt, a little bit of sugar. I'm just gonna give this a quick toss. Now, we're not done with this yet, but let's look at the herbs. So the herbs that we are using is the epitome of basic Thai herbs. This is something that everybody has. I know it's not something that you have, but it's a good example of, what the standard Thai pantry looks like in terms of herbs. So lemongrass. I'm using 2 because they're small, but you can get away with 1. And now I'm just gonna pound this until it becomes fibrous. Okay, that's enough. This will really allow the flavor to come out. And now I'm just gonna add this to my chicken. And then just a few rounds of galangal. And I'm just gonna crush them to the broken. That's it, nothing serious. That's it. I mean, you can take the time to make a fine paste if you want, but you really don't have to. Now, kaffir lime leaves. I am not gonna pound these. I'm just gonna roughly tear and add them to the bowl. And then I've got some garlic. Now, if you're asking, why don't you just pound everything together? I find it's actually faster when you can just concentrate on what you're looking for. I did it once where I pounded everything together and it's like the lemongrass is blocking the galangal and this is just easier. So just a rough pound for the garlic as well. And one last thing we're gonna pound is dry chilies for some spiciness as much as you want for this. I'm just gonna pound just until they break. Careful, don't breathe too hard while you're doing this because, chilies. And that's done for the mortar. The last thing I'm gonna add is some shallots, and that'll just break down when we cook the chicken. And then give this a good toss. You wanna let this sit for at least 30 minutes. You can do this overnight if you want. And now comes the easiest part, the cooking. Okay, so I've got a pot here, and it should be a pot that's big enough to hold the chicken, but that you still have plenty of room on top. Keep the heat medium low, and you just pour the whole thing in. And now, the reason why you're gonna need quite a bit of room on top, even this pot is on the small side, but that's okay, is because we're now gonna make this chicken into underwater chicken by putting water on top of it. So I've got here a bowl of cold water, a big bowl of cold water, and I'm gonna let it go. That's it, that's the entire cooking process. For about 45 minutes to an hour, your only task between now and then is to make sure the water doesn't get hot. Warm is okay. Okay, if it's warm, that's fine, but if it's hot and it starts to steam, you gotta change out the water into cold. I know this seems a little crazy to some of you, but it works and it's brilliant. And when you see the end result, I'll explain to you how this works. Okay, so it has been about 20 minutes, and at this point, I'm gonna change out the water because I start to feel that it's hot, and we wanna make sure this water stays cold. So I'm just gonna spoon it out. So this means that the bigger your bowl, the easier it is because the fewer times you have to change it. I find that with this size bowl, I could have filled it up a little more. I have to change the water only once or twice at the most. Cold water going in. You don't have to take it all out. So this time I'm gonna really fill it up to the top so I don't have to do this again until it's done. You can also put some ice in it if you want, but I don't wanna waste my precious ice. All right, it's been about 50 minutes. I'm gonna turn this off. Now, I suggest not trying to just lift this bowl off, but just transfer the water out. It's much safer that way. Ta-da! Now, check this out. Look at all that juice that came out. Oh, smells so good. It's basically turned into a delicious braised chicken with tons of herbs. Now, I know some of you are thinking, whoa, what just happened? Explain that to me. Because that's what I thought when I first saw this. But now that I've thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's brilliant. So all this juice is actually the liquid that was already in the chicken, right? It's chicken natural juices. Yes, there's a little bit of the soy sauce and fish sauce, but definitely not this much, right? But what happened is when we cook the chicken, all the juices come out of the chicken, they evaporate, and because we put cold water on top, it condenses and drips back down. So by doing that, we never lose even a single drop of chicken juice. So we're able to eventually braise the chicken all in its own juices, and that's why this stuff is so delicious. This is why it is so important that you keep this water cold. If the water gets too hot, the water will not condense, and if there are little gaps around between the bowl and the pot, you start losing steam, okay? But if it's a very good seal and you don't lose any steam, what you create is a highly pressurized situation. So if you accidentally forgotten to change the water and it's like boiling away on top of your bowl, don't just lift the pot off, okay? Because all the steam, the built up pressure will come rushing out, and that's dangerous. So what I would do in that case, just turn off the heat and just take the water out, put some cold water back in, okay? So don't panic in that situation. Ah! Whoosh. And that's another reason why it's very important that you use bone-in chicken, okay? Because if you just use boneless chicken, all this water is not gonna be flavorful, right? So all this sauce, all this juice is all going to be just chicken meat water, which is not good. In the bones, it is what flavors that juice. Just look at that. That just looks rustic. Like, you look at that and you know it's rustic food and it's gonna be good. And look at all this, look at all the rest of this sauce. That is good stuff. It's highly concentrated chicken stock right there. Woo. Just a couple of dry chilies and then just a sprinkling of julienne kaffir lime leaves. Oh yeah. You want to have this with jasmine rice, but of course, silly me, I forgot to put the rice on, which happens quite a lot actually. So I'm gonna eat it as is. That's okay. Oh, and just watch for the bones because the chicken's cut up with the bones. Sometimes you get bits of sharp bones. So if you're serving kids, make sure maybe you do this for them. Take the meat out for them. You don't want them poking their mouths with sharp edges of bone. Let me get some sauce in there. Oh, that smells good. Oh, I wish I had some rice to sop up all that sauce. Oh, the chicken is so tender and so flavorful. It still blows my mind every time I eat this, how good that is. Just how simple it is. You know, just throw the chicken with a bunch of herbs and a couple of seasoning and it's just amazing. So I hope you give this a try. I know you're gonna want to give it a try just to see if it actually works and you'll impress some people. But just remember, if you do decide to do it, keep that water cold. Just remember, PV equals nRT. Remember high school science class? Okay, if you keep that in mind, you'll be fine. So the recipe, as always, is on hotthaikitchen.com, When you make it, send me a photo on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And if you haven't subscribed to the show, right here you can do so, and you'll never miss an awesome recipe like this. And I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal.